What's going on YouTube? Today we're going to do some controller modification. I'll be showing you how to install the ExtremeRate 2.0 Remap kit with the back paddles for your PS5 controller. And the real cool thing I like about these new kits is that they work for both the BDM 010 and the 020 controllers. And I'll go more into details about that in this video. In most first-person shooter games, the left joystick is to control the character's movement, such as forward, back, side to side, while the right joystick is to control the crosshair and the aim sight. So it's critical to keep both thumbs always on the joystick for movement and aiming accuracy. If you're in a gunfight and removing your right thumbstick to jump or crouch, you're reducing the chances of winning the gunfight because you just removed your thumb from the aiming, most likely resulting in losing a gunfight since the time to kill is so quick in these games. Now, if you have back paddles and map your jump and crouch buttons to them, your movement and aim will be much quicker and smoother, and you won't need to remove your thumbs from your joysticks, resulting in much more gunfight wins. Quickly jumping during gunfights, you're going to be a much harder target to hit. Your slide cancel and bunny hops will be the next level. So what you get with the ExtremeRate kit, the back shell for the controller with a rubber on the back. So this is very nice for the grip. This is the buttons, the paddles that we're going to install in the back of the controller, the ribbon cables, and the instructions. And you also get some extra screws and a nice little kit, a little screwdriver and a prying tool to open up the controller. So what I really like about these new kits, that it's available for both BDM 010 version controller and BDM 020 version controller. Now before there were separate kits and you had to identify which controller you had and buy that specific kit based on the motherboard. So once we open the controller, on the motherboard we're going to identify which motherboard we have, and based on that motherboard we're going to cut the ribbons in certain areas to install it to that motherboard. And I'll go into that more in detail once we open up the controller. So let's put this aside first and get going. So the first thing we do is we open the controller up with a priming tool. We just go underneath here these clips, 1 and 2. This comes off. Next we want to take off the L1 and the R1 buttons, and we just simply put the prime tool inside and pull. Next we get our little screwdriver, and there's 4 screws that we're going to take out. There's 1 here, 1 here, 2, 3, and 4. So I got 4 of the screws out. Next, we are going to raise these 2 clips here, 1 and 2, and these are the 2 clips that holding the controller intact. So as we raise them, we could then lift off the shell, and it should pop open. So you kind of have to raise the clips and the controller at the same time. Okay, so we open up. Back shell goes away for now. Battery take out. Next, we're going to unscrew this little screw here that holds this plate together. Could remove this. Careful this one. So when you remove it, just gently. You could actually disconnect it and then connect it together. You could just put it like that. So now we're going to start taking off the ribbon cables. We'll take this blue one up out here. This one here, the blue ribbon. We'll pull that off. You want to get that motherboard. Now what I would suggest using some tweezers if you have. Makes things a little bit easier. Just wiggle it out. Then we're going to disconnect this one, this ribbon cable here. and this one. Now don't make the same mistake and rip it, but we don't need these, so it's okay because we're gonna replace them with the one that comes with a kit. So we're just gonna remove those two ribbon cables, and we're gonna take the small one out. So right here on the PCB, on the motherboard, we have the motherboard model number, which says BDM010. So now we know which motherboard this is and what controller model this is. So we could go back to the instructions and cut the ribbon cables accordingly to this controller. So to make the correct cuts on the ribbon cables, we look at our little instruction manual that comes. And for the BD010, which was the controller that we had, we match it up here. And basically the instructions show us to make a cut right here, which is we cut away the BD020, and this is the R1, R2 ribbon cable. So we're just gonna go here and carefully make this cut. And we just match it up to make sure that it's accurate. And for the L1, L2 ribbon cable, we match it up here. And this shows us to make two cuts, one here and one here. Basically, we cut where it says BDM020 because that's not our controller, so we want to cut that off. And we're going to keep the BDM010. And there's lines here to show you exactly where to cut it. After the cuts, we could put it in this frame just to make sure that everything's good to go. So everything's good to go, we could continue installing. So next we take this cable here with the sticky pad here, and with the sticky pad up, we're gonna insert it right there. There's two pins, and these two pins go in these two holes. And we want to make sure that it's nice and flat on top and that it's making a connection. If it's not going to be a connection there, the controller will not start. So next we want to make sure that this cable is not inside of there, and we also want to make sure that this is on top. And now we could put it back together. It should go in flush, nice and secure. Right, there it goes. And then we're going to connect this blue ribbon cable. We can connect the small one. So next we're going to take the R1, R2 ribbon cable, and we're going to put it on this side of the controller, my left side. So the socket's on the outer side. The socket's in the inner side here. This one is here. It's a little bit difficult to get, especially with the camera view. Okay, once we have this side, just gonna flip it over, connect it to the board. Next we'll do the other side. So we're gonna hold it like this. This is the L1, L2 with ExtremeRate facing the inside of the controller. Now once that is in there like that, I'm going to flip it over like this and get the other side on this side here, just like that. And you always want to make sure they're in, double check it, because the last thing you want to do is take the controller apart because it's not working. Next is the battery plate. Gonna carefully move this out of the way. Move this one out of the way and get this back installed. So this one, remember, it goes back inside there. So we're just gonna put that back inside. So it should line up pretty easy. Once it's intact, it should line up. There we go. I'm gonna take that screw. Next, the battery. I think we should hook up the battery first and then put it in place. It'll be a little bit easier. Now we're going to take the sticky pad off. Get a nice finish there. And we insert our remapped ribbon cables here. So this one, it shows on here R1, R2. It's going to go in here. You're going to open them up a little bit. There's like a little door. Open it up and slide it in there. Once it's in, we're going to close it. Make sure you secure it. Bam. Same with this one. This is the L1, L1, L2. This one we don't do anything because we're not remapping the R3, L3 button, so we're just going to leave this one that stays like this. So after this, we look like we're done with this part, and we can start putting back the controller together. So for now, let's put the pedals aside. First, we need to connect the back shell of this button to the back shell of the controller. Okay, just like that. Now we'll take the screws that came with it. Okay, at this point, we could go ahead and start assembling the shell. We put this wire through here. So once we start putting the shell back, we could take this board that comes with the kit, and we're going to open the gates here, the little door, and insert this last ribbon cable. I promise this is the last one. And close the door, and then we're going to insert this underneath. See if you guys can see it there. So I'm going to go underneath here first. So put that into place. Now we're going to take the little screws the smallest one that come with the kit. Now the last part, we assemble our back piece. So we put here, this is the little LCD screen. And the button, we put it in here. Make sure the button connects on those two pins, just like that. And then we have to so when we put this together, we start from the bottom up. That looks good. Now we put these 4 screws back in here. 1, 2, 3, 4. The last part is we are going to program the paddles. So we turn on the controller. So once your controller is on, we're going to pair the buttons, and to do that we push this middle button here for 3 seconds until the red LED light turns on. It's on, and we push the button and the paddle we want to map at the same time. So I'm doing X and this paddle here, push at the same time. See, it beeped, so that means it mapped. So I'm going to map 0 in this paddle. And that mapped, so now we're done. Now you can turn it off. And we're good to play. Guys, thanks for watching this video. I highly recommend the paddles. If you have a PS5, get it, install it. Your game will improve. If you need it, my affiliated Amazon link is down below. If you like the content, subscribe. I'm going to be putting out more content soon. See you next time.